I'm Michael Bungay Stanya. This is Change Signal. This is the podcast where we cut through the blather and the BS and the noise to find the good stuff that works in change and transformation. When I'm on the road, I take my microphone and recorder and I see if I can find some good people to talk to, some impromptu interviews. And I was in Dallas some months ago and ended up just down the road from the Christus Health headquarters. Now, Christus Health are a Catholic, faith-based, not-for-profit health system, and they offer over 600 centers and a continuum of care from walk-in clinics, ambulatory surgery, and acute care. Now, they're in the US, but also in Mexico, Chile, and Colombia, and they're often serving communities that other healthcare systems don't want to serve. I managed to grab some time with Lisa Reynolds. Now, Lisa is the VP of Change Management, and she leads a small but influential change team.
We'll take care of the people's strategies, and it's just as important as the technical, and that's what we're here to help with.
This is a really practical conversation, and Lisa is serving up really great insights from both the successes and the failures of her tenure. We get into what it means to address resistance. We also really explore what it means to be a change partner. Now, it's also a slightly noisy conversation. There's an air conditioner going in Lisa's office, but it's Dallas. So change is such a big, sweeping, elusive word. Well, what does it mean within Christus Health? What are the sort of projects you're up against and tackling?
So it's really helping people and groups as they adapt to change. So managing the emotions and behavior that people experience as they go from that current state through the transition zone to the future state.
Yeah.
And we partner with project teams as they're implementing the technical side, and we want to make sure there's people strategies.
So that's really interesting. You look for the change projects that will have technical leads and project management leads, and you're like, we're going to bring the humanity, or have you thinking about the humanity as part of that?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And once word got out how much we could help a project, then now we almost have more work than we can handle. So we have to prioritize, and we decide, are we going to educate? That's education, consultation, or integration. We have 3 levels of service.
Just to jump in here, I'm really struck by this and by 2 things. First, just how important it is to get the word out about how, as a change team, you can help. Your internal marketing and word of mouth and reputation really matters. And then it's being clear on the different ways you can help. I love this kind of menu of support with different levels of involvement. Well, tell me about one of the projects where you've partnered up like this and it's been really successful. I mean, give me a sense of what the project was about. And then I'm really curious to know, so what was the secret to your success?
We did an acquisition last fall because of a bankruptcy. We had to do it in 6 weeks.
Wow.
Which normally it's 18 months to 2 years.
It's like one of those COVID moments where you're like, this can't be done. Oh, it's COVID. It can be done. And you're like, you have to do it in 18 months. It can't be done any faster. Oh, it can. It can be done in 6 weeks.
And I think the success was, we love a challenge.
Yeah.
It's like you said, rallying around COVID. And our performance excellence team, they managed the project and put work streams together. Yeah. And our team was involved, HR, the operations.
Right.
And we were able to successfully, in 6 weeks, onboard the associates at the facility we were acquiring. And what we did was we created this welcome center a week before, because they had to learn our electronic health record system. They had to learn our ERP. So an aside, ERP, in my mind anyway, is shorthand for all the systems. They came in, they got their badge, they got their letter with their new title. Yeah. And then they signed into systems, and then they got training. And then at the very end, we gave them some Christus Health swag, and we want it to be very welcoming because this was their first interaction. And they said how welcomed they felt at midnight on day 1, making sure the senior leaders are out rounding, passing out food. And when midnight hit, people were sad. They said, it's so sad that this legacy at this hospital is going away. an hour later, new equipment's coming in. There's still people there taking care of them. And you could just see the spirits soaring. They were so happy.
Right.
Our CEO in the market that the acquisition was joining took down this dead tree in front of the hospital on day one that people had been wanting that to go away for so long because it was
symbolic first act in so many ways.
Yeah, it was very symbolic.
Yeah.
And it was just so nice to partner with a group that was so wanting to know how could we help the people adapt to this change.
How would you, if I was leading a change project, how would you coach me in successful partnering? Because there's plenty of moments where an opportunity to kind of partner with somebody who's project managing or technically leading a change project, and they're like, look, I've got so much on my plate. I don't have time for your weird touchy-feely stuff. We've got to get some stuff going here. But clearly you found a powerful way of becoming a trusted partner in this. How do you do that?
One, it's patience and listening, a lot of listening. It's building the relationship. So having conversations, what's their biggest fear? Like, what's your biggest fear with this change?
Right.
What do you need people to do differently? Sharing some of the research on how if we plan for resistance and people's strategies up front, you can be 7 times more successful.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, if you have it at your fingertips, what is that research about the resistance?
Yeah, so I'm sure you've heard of ProSci.
ProSci is one of the better known change philosophies and models.
We're all certified in that, and we follow that methodology mostly.
Yeah.
But their research is that the more people's strategies you have and plan for and anticipate resistance and plan for it, they show a graph of organizations that don't. That's 7 times the ROI.
Right.
If you employ people strategies up front, and you can mitigate 50% of the resistance up front by planning for it. You can't eliminate all of it because, as you and I know, that's just the natural reaction to change.
Exactly.
And it's feedback.
Yeah. Well, there's 2 great things there. First of all, it is a natural reaction to change. Secondly, resistance is feedback. So it's telling you something. So it's less failure, but more just a system talking to you.
Right.
What have you learned about helping to melt resistance, to lessen resistance? What are some of the tactics or strategies you use around that?
One is making sure before the change is even announced that we have a good strategy around letting people know what's changing, why now, and what are the benefits.
Yeah.
So a real strong why and vision of the future.
Right.
And then making sure that we clearly understand today you're doing this, tomorrow you're going to do this. So those that are designing the training can have accurate training, but then letting people know about it early so they can plan for it, get it on their schedule, especially in healthcare. That's so important.
Yeah.
And then getting leaders on board to be champions of the change so they're not hearing negative things from their leader. So getting leaders informed first.
Do you mean right at the top leaders, or when you say leaders, what sort of people are we talking about?
Leaders of the frontline associates.
Got it.
They make the biggest impact.
Right.
Senior leaders are usually bought in because they're the ones wanting the project to happen.
Yeah.
So they've got to take the time to bring the people leaders along.
Yeah.
Because the people leaders have the relationship with their teams. It can say, here's what change is changing, here's the impact to you.
Now you can learn more about Christus Health at christushealth.org, and you'll find Lisa Reynolds on LinkedIn.
Before we hit the record button, we were talking about how things like John Kotter's model feel a little dated. And one of the reasons, I think, is because of the relentlessness and the ubiquity of change. I mean, it's just ongoing. How do you think about change exhaustion or change depletion in terms of like people going, oh my goodness, I can't do this anymore. Right. Yet another change initiative coming. It's
marathon
exhausting.
Effect.
Exactly.
Yes, and so it's a little bit about being change ready and knowing that this is the way the world is right now.
Right.
We have some sessions on the growth mindset instead of the fixed mindset, and be change ready. See that struggle as you're learning, you're growing. And then in our competency model at Christus, we have change leadership as one of our core competencies for both leader of self, leader of teams and leaders of leaders.
Yeah.
So how do we prepare people to be agile and know that things are going to be constantly changing? Like they were during COVID, the protocol changed 5 or 6 times a day at first.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
And some adapt better than others.
Yeah. This is getting nerdy, but I'm also curious what channels you use to communicate with people. Like when I ran change projects, which was some time ago, we're all pretty excited because email had just been invented, and we're like, oh, we can just send an email and people will know everything. Everybody read their email. But now people are besieged by emails and texts and Slack and whatever else. Have you found a way of cutting through just the noise of everybody's everyday life?
I wouldn't say we've perfected it, but we've gotten better. We have found that, face-to-face communication, like in a safety huddle, if it's announced with leaders and then they go back and have that conversation with their team, they'll pay more attention to it than from an email coming from the system office because they know that person. So if we can create multiple avenues, the email, a PowerPoint deck that we can just give a senior team in one of our hospitals to share at a town hall, or talking points for leaders to share with their team. And I don't know if you've ever heard of potty training.
I haven't.
If you put a flyer.
I have, but I don't think this is what you're talking about.
Nurses are so busy and don't have time to check their emails.
Yeah.
But if you put a flyer on the bathroom stall, we call that potty training. People can see that notice.
That I have. Just like message to people when they are. Or know to breathe.
But I think the face-to-face is the most effective.
I do think that this is one of the great tactical challenges of change these days. Communicating what's going on, what's expected, when everyone is besieged by texts and emails and Slacks and documents. And that's not even counting excellent weekly podcasts that everybody should be listening to. So if you've got a view on this, and maybe even a framework for helping figure out how to get communication get heard, I'd love your guidance. Do email me at podcast@thechangesignal.com with your thoughts.
I mean, that's a great story of working in that rapid 6-week acquisition. Does a project come to mind that was more of a struggle, where you're like, man, this is much harder to get traction?
Yes, we thought it was going so well, and then all of a sudden it wasn't.
That sounds intriguing. What happened?
So it might seem like that shouldn't be a challenge, where we went from one LMS to a new one, learning management system. It was one we'd had for over 20 years, was the healthcare standard.
So an LMS, that's the platform on which digital training is hosted in organizations.
Nursing loved it because the clinical education programs were research-based sound. But it was not very modern, and the price was pretty high for what we were getting. And so our clinical leaders said, we need to leave HealthStream and go to a new modern learning management system. And our digital associate experience team felt the same. So we brought all the clinical education leaders here to Irving to involve them, said, this is going to happen, and we need your help on how to do it right. And so people can understand the why. And it was going fantastic till we went live, and all the changes we had planned for, people struggled with because we were centralizing the administration of it to keep a better check on all the courses so there wasn't duplication. So they started getting frustrated. They couldn't do things that they used to do, even though we had told them they wouldn't be able to. But until it happens, they didn't believe it. And then learning the new system was hard. And so their desire to be using that just totally dropped, and said we weren't communicating, and you were thinking, oh, we did all these things, but it's not working.
So in retrospect, what would you do differently? Well, what would you have done differently?
Great question. Probably be more intentional about, here's what you're not going to be able to do in the new system. We said it, but maybe we didn't emphasize it enough. Had the executive sponsors out there talking more about this is going away and why, and to make sure they felt competent on the new system.
Right.
They're still struggling a bit learning it, and they're bringing them back for some additional training in June. But we had thought we had done so well by involving them from the start, and then when we found out they were so frustrated, it was like, oh.
Was there, like telling the story of the merger, the acquisition, you talked about cutting down the dead tree, which is an annoying thing. So people are like, oh, good stuff's happening already, but B, it's symbolic, I would imagine, all sorts of ways, which is things are changing and new life where there was old. Was there a symbolic act or a symbolic thing at the start of the new LMS?
There wasn't, and we probably did need that ritual, or at least on the week up to go live day, or when they had both systems for 6 weeks. So maybe sometime in that 6 week, having that ritual of letting go.
Right. I have a working theory that we often don't allow people to grieve the passing of the status quo, the thing that they're moving away from. And what I liked about that acquisition story was that you said explicitly, there's like a sitting around going, this has been a great hospital and this is what we're going to miss, and it's the end of something, which increased capacity for the new thing.
Yes.
It feels weird to grieve an LMS because not many people love an LMS, but
we probably should have.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
We're closing a hospital in San Antonio, and they're doing a time capsule and a mass. So there is that ritual there, and you're absolutely right. That was missing with the LMS.
Yeah. What's something, if I was new on your team, and I've just joined, you've got a small team, but dynamic, and you're like, Michael, look, here's a few things you need to know about me and us and the way we think about change. What would you teach me that I don't yet know?
Well, as Christus, we're a very relationship-based organization. New people coming in so they can tell that.
Yeah.
And so you first have to build the relationship before you can make changes.
Yeah.
And I believe change at its core is humanistic.
Right.
It's one person at a time.
Yeah.
If we have a change impacting 2,000 people, it's 2,000 changes. So we really need to live our values, especially dignity and compassion, as people go through change, and listen.
Yeah.
And understand their world before we design our solutions.
And perhaps as a final question, what's your guidance on how to build relationships? Because, I was waiting when I signed in, the lovely security guard was going, oh, Lisa's fantastic. She's like my work mom. I love her. She's got this great vibe. And then as we walked to the elevator, people were saying hello and you were hugging some people. So there's all of this kind of commitment to relationship. Some people are better at it than others. My guess is you're pretty good at it. If I'm less good at it, how would you teach me to think about relationships?
It's so interesting you asked that, because people have asked me, and I said, I don't know what I'm doing. I just do it. So I really have to think. I think it's being present and being more interested than interesting. I know you've probably heard that before, but getting to know somebody, what's important to them, their values, their families, and, listen before asking for what you want.
I really appreciated this conversation with Lisa because it felt very grounded in reality. Also, just what a small team can do. I mean, this is a big organization spread out in different countries, different cultures, different needs. But Lisa and her team remain very focused on just delivering what is the human individual experience of walking through change. Now, Lisa did wrap up by saying, listen before asking for what you want. And of course, I am listening. But I do also want something. I hope you might support the podcast by helping to spread the word. A rating is terrific, of course, but if you were to do one thing, it might be to mention a favorite episode to a friend or to post it somewhere on LinkedIn. And thank you for doing the work. I am glad you're here.